Hello to everyone in the internet. It is currently December 5th, Wednesday. I am Nathan of Washington, and you are watching The Young Globalist, and it is time for the news. Alright, everybody. So Mike Pompeo says that Trump is building a New World Order. Yeah, I imagine there will be a lot of people out there saying that, oh, it's the sign of the times, the end times. Nah, it's just Trump resuming the American bully state. The American bully state, which has existed since the time of Trump's hero, Andrew Jackson. It is not the United States' job to police the world or to rule it. But that is precisely what Mike Pompeo said our role is. Basically placing us in charge of the world. This is why people hate us and think we're pieces of shit, alright? Is when politicians go around talking about shit like this. American interventionism, it's just wrong, and we need to stop this nonsense. It is not our place to tell people what to do with their lives. And to be honest, Trump keeping up this country's behavior, the bully state, it's got to be Mike Pompeo's influence. He's got Trump's ear, and because Trump is a businessman, and maybe not as experienced in politics, as experienced as some others, he lends too much trust to people with more experience, and they use that trust to manipulate it. I know that's hard to imagine for someone like Trump, right? But that would explain perfectly Trump's behavior regarding certain of his campaign promises. His contract with America, which he is now in violation of, on at least 2 accounts. The war culture of the United States must end. Did you know that Veterans Day used to be Armistice Day? The day where we celebrated the end of World War I? Just ask Ron Paul. He'll tell you. He's old enough, he remembers. But somewhere down the line, it was turned to Veterans Day. Instead of celebrating the end of war, we began celebrating war itself. Think about that. Just think about that for a minute. We live in a war culture. Mind you, that's not a lot of evidence. That's just the tip of the iceberg, and I don't want to go into the whole thing. It would take too long. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a culture shock aftershock on that. Do a little research and then relate to you what I've learned. Could be nice. Pompeo is also blaming China, Russia, China, and Iran for global instability. But, you know what? Guess who really caused global instability? Good old US of A. We caused global instability. Did Russia go into Iraq and take out its government and replace it with a puppet? No. We did that. That was us. Did China create ISIS? Or at least create a power vacuum that would create an opportunity for ISIS to come into existence? No. No. We did that. Did Iran put nukes in Turkey aimed at Russia's head, and then Russia respond in kind? No. We did that. Most of the world's geopolitical instability is our fault. And the best way to cover your ass for something you did wrong is by pointing the finger and blaming someone else, so that all the eyes turn to them instead of you. And that's exactly what Mike Pompeo's doing. He's pointing the finger at Russia, China, and Iran, so people will turn their eyes to them instead of us, instead of our government. The American bully state, who is the real culprit for the global instability. It's time we hold our government accountable. No more voting for these warmongering Republicans and Democrats. No more. And in more news about Trump, he has now given himself a ridiculous superhero-esque nickname called Tariff Man. His superhero alter ego wanting to hit China with a 10 to 25% tariff. Well, I think maybe it was more like a 15 to 25% tariff. And to think that I personally voted for that orange jackass. Now I know. Some of you might be thinking, oh, maybe you just try to separate the man from the office. But I would say in some ways the man is the office. Alright? Most of the ordinary plebeian normies won't be able to do that. And that is no fault of their own. They are limited by their lack of awareness. They are limited by the fact that they think with their hearts instead of their heads, which is most people. And we need to account for that and forgive them for that. And instead say that, you know what, the president needs to behave himself, because it makes us look bad in foreign countries. And it can hurt foreign policy. And even though the meetings with China were completely optimistic, a trade deal is unlikely. Gee, I wonder why that is. Maybe because one or more of them just decided that, excuse me, oh, it's unlikely. Then why are they so optimistic? Did everything look good and then all of a sudden, last minute, boom, something happened? Maybe because some chicken shit decided to change their mind? And there's a 90-day deadline currently. There's a 90-day deadline for this trade war with China, and it's actually causing our stock market values to go down, while Asian stock market values go right up. At best, Trump is like a driver who drives very uncomfortably for his passengers and makes them worry. And at worst, he is a drunk driver that has lost sight of his own talents for business and is hurting our market because he crashed right into it. We're in the drunk driver's passenger seat, now we're just waiting for the crash. I don't know what happened. His presidency started out great. He managed to stabilize our economy for at least a couple weeks. He was doing good. He was keeping his campaign promises. Then all of a sudden, heads just south of heaven. And now everything's going to hell. I suppose I could be exaggerating. Admittedly, I could be. But when you engage in idiotic tariff trade wars and cause your country's own stock market values to go down as a result, yet you've been a businessman for years, you should know better. So what the fuck happened, man? Moving on. Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the president of Mexico, is making a huge sale of his predecessor's lavish plane, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. That is a $200 million plane. Saying he cited that it was too fancy for the president of Mexico. And he's also selling 60 other planes and about 70 helicopters. Honestly, this guy is just pretty cool. He's like my soul brat. He's like my soul brat. Because I'd probably do something similar. Why does a world leader need a big, fancy plane? He doesn't. He just needs a plane that works. Something with good security that keeps him safe and gets him from point A to point B. What does he need with this fancy, smancy Dreamliner? Right? He's selling all these other planes and all these helicopters, assuming he owns all of them. You know what? What he should do is he should put the money from that sale to good use and help out his country. You know, maybe add the money to his government budget. I know most people don't realize this. Probably a lot of people think that governments fund projects purely from taxation, but that's not true. There is such a thing as a government budget, which is paid into selectively by politicians and by their partisans. So what Andrés Manuel López Obrador should do is he should sell these vehicles and put the money into his government budget. I mean, you could do quite a bit with $300 million. $200 to $300 million worth of money. You could do a lot. I mean, you could improve your health care for a little while, maybe for a couple years. You could fund a nice little project, maybe improve education, build some nice little schools. There's a lot you could do. So I'd say he should put that into his government budget. Anyway, that's all for the Young Globalist today, folks. Tschüss.